Skid it. What's good, everybody? Appreciate everybody for getting up in here nice and early. I got my man Confidence Creator with me and Mr. Locario. What's good with y'all, bros?
What's popping? What's good? What's good?
What's going on with you guys?
Chilling.
Chilling, man. So we got the top flight security of game. You know what I mean? Like we, we definitely, I would say, in my opinion, are three individuals, three different backgrounds, but one thing in common. Definitely got an understanding of real game. You know, you'll get very confused on this side of YouTube on what's game, what's not game. So quick start off. And shout out to everybody in here. Reese, I see you. Joe Blast, Mario was good. Y'all make sure y'all like the video when y'all come up in here. I'll start off with you, Miss Locario. What is your definition of game? Because I know it gets tossed around like crazy.
Yeah, so basically what game basically is overall is just like strategy to get what you want. You know what I'm saying? Because I'll break it down like this. So you have game and then you have having just like, you know what I'm saying? And so what happens is that game is synonymous with life, and having game means you have a strategy to get what you want out of life. So anything could be game. You understand what I'm saying? And everybody has game. So there's no like a lot of times when you say you ain't got no game, we're really just saying your game is weak when you say a person ain't got game. But everybody got game. So when a baby cries, it has game because it knows every time I cry, my mother or father is going to come feed me or change my diaper or whatever. So that's their game to get whatever they want. So it all depends on what you trying to get, and your game is tight if you get what you're trying to get, and your game is weak if you don't get what you're trying to get. That's really all it is. You know what I'm
saying? Facts. I definitely agree with that. What you think, Confident?
Oh, I would just to touch on that. Yeah, I agree 100% with what he's saying. I consider it like your personality, your swag, how you move. You know, not just only what you're saying coming out of your mouth, but also the way you're moving and observing, just the overall perspective. And like he said, game can go from just dealing with females. You can have game in business. You can have game all over in life, period. So that's pretty much what I conclude with the whole game thing is, because for me, I started off dating and talking to females, and the confidence that I got from that is what allowed me to say, like, you know what, I'm going to pursue this career. You know what, I'm going to start this business. You know, I'm going to start this channel. Like, so that's pretty much what game is for me.
Right.
Facts. Yeah, and I definitely agree with what you guys are saying. I kind of look at it as, to a certain point, you don't even look at it as game, because as Locario said, in a sense, we're really born with it. A lot of people lose it over time. A lot of people lose it over content. A lot of people lose it over thinking too much about what game is, but the best game is typically when you run no game. So it's kind of confusing if you say it that way. But sometimes you guys got to realize we're always focused on self-improvement. Although you want to, at a certain point, when are you good enough? When are you good enough to say, damn, I can actually get chicks like this. So I've been able to get chicks, but because I'm too focused on trying to do this specific game, shit just makes it harder than it should be.
Right, because you know what it is. This is the problem with a lot of guys, especially. What most guys do is that they go far away from their intuition, and they start thinking about like a lot of things outside themselves. So what happens is let's say, for example, they see a girl across the room and they want to talk to her, and they thinking, damn, she bad, I want to holler at her, right? So instead of just going and making it happen, they sit there and think, damn, should I not? What should I say when I go over there? I don't know what to say. Let me think of the perfect line to say. So they're going outside their own self, and then that's what messes up the situation when they go and actually, eventually talk to her. You see what I'm saying? So if they would have just went off the instinct and that intuition to really be like, let me just go and see what's popping because I'm feeling this chick real quick. Let me see what's going on and just have a conversation. That would have yielded better results than them waiting for like 10, 15 minutes to come up with the perfect line to say to her. You understand what I'm saying? And that's the issue, is that they're not really coming from the natural basis of it. And that's the problem, because a lot of guys think like there's this perfect thing to say or this perfect thing to do in order to get her, because they want to alleviate rejection. They want to be able to get a situation going without having to deal with all the things that come with that, because rejection comes with trying to make something happen, but people want to make something happen without having to deal with rejection. You know what I'm saying? So that's the crazy part.
Facts, yeah, in every part of life. So what personality traits would you say that someone would need to be good at this? Do you think there's specific things?
I don't think so. Like I feel like there are some naturals, but at the same time, I've seen a lot of weirdos on there. I'm not gonna call out any names that are teaching it, and I won't say that. Like some people naturally, I don't know if they just naturally pick it up, or they just like they know what to say and how to move. And then there's other people that learn it that I still like. I see them on YouTube teaching it, and nothing that they're saying is for the most part. I agree with mostly what they're saying, but they still got the kind of weirdo swag where they move different, or it's something that they do that I wouldn't say. But I think honestly, we can teach anybody. Like you can teach anybody how to get good with talking to females. But the only problem is getting guys to come off the internet and actually take the first step. That's the hardest thing, because a lot of guys want to watch the videos. They want to watch Mr. Locario. They want to watch Mr. Man in action, and then they don't want to take the action. You know what I mean? So that's kind of what my biggest thing is about it. Like you can learn. Now, I'm not going to say you're going to come off as James Bond next year, but you'll be able to have a conversation with somebody. And most of the time, you just want to be yourself in the first place. If you're not that person where you're not smooth or something like that, then don't try to be somebody that you're not, because you can't keep up with this persona that you're coming across.
Right.
Like for me, I've heard some information on here and I was just like, oh, that's interesting. Like keep a masculine frame or something like that. And I'm like, you know, that might work for this guy, but for me, I like to joke around. I like to have fun. So I'm not going to try to even attempt to figure out how to sit there and try to keep my, you know, you got to kind of like me for me. And there's ways that you can be mysterious and be alpha in different types of ways. So you just got to figure out what works for you.
See, I think the thing is, as far as personality is concerned, I think the problem is people are trying to move too far away from who they really are and trying to be some other situation or try to be somebody else. So, for example, let's say for example, a person's trying to get in shape, right? Let's say they're overweight, they're trying to get in shape, they're trying to get muscles, right? So what they'll look at a guy who, let's say, is like ripped and shredded and has like 8% body fat or whatever. And so they're striving to look exactly like that guy. But when you work out or whatever, you might not look exactly like that guy, but you still get fit. You're still getting fit. You're still getting muscles. You're still looking good in your own way. You understand what I'm saying? And so what happens is they're still striving to look like the other guy. And so the same thing happens in game, is that people are striving to be something that they're not, or this ideal that they're not, instead of embracing the ideal of who they are, like the best version of themselves. You see what I'm saying? And so the thing is that when you get to that point, that's when the game is going to work for you. So for example, if we talk about personality, let's say if a guy is the type of guy who is quiet, or you might have a type of guy who's very extroverted and loud or whatever, and likes to joke around, like, you were saying and everything like that, that's going to be better for him because it's natural for him. So when he talks to a girl and when he's interacting with a girl, she's getting to see that natural energy that is him, which is going to be attractive because he's in his natural state. So the problem is too many guys aren't figuring out who they are, so they're not in their natural state. So when they're talking to a girl, they're just being like a cookie cutter version of somebody else, which is what, which is what my dude Confidence is just saying earlier about a lot of the YouTube dudes. The reason why it seems so weird, or they seem weird, is because they're not being themselves. They're being a carbon copy of somebody else. They're just regurgitating things they heard or that they heard somebody else say, but then it's not really coming from them or their own experience. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
So it's crazy.
Right.
And it's so true what both you guys said, because actually trying to be somebody else, whether it's online or not, is going to hurt you more than it can help you, because who you are is always going to push out. You know, your actual personality. Like let's say you like have a little snort when you laugh or some shit. If you try to cover that, at some point it's going to come out and it's going to be a big deal because you've been trying to hide it the whole time. And honestly, with any of you guys in here, none of you can be anybody else better than you can be yourself.
Right.
Cliche as that is, it's like if you just can really tap into that, of course you can try out certain things. You hear something Confidence says, you hear something Locario says, try it out. But it's still going to be your way of trying that out. So for example, it's just like driving a car. It's so many ways to drive a freaking car. Like you can do it with one hand, one pinky, two hands. First time you do it though, the shit's always gonna be awkward. If you think about the first time you got behind a wheel, it was, you know, you slamming on the brakes and doing all this extra stuff. But at a certain point, you drive your car the way you drive your car. If you try to drive like somebody else, you're gonna end up getting in a freaking wreck.
Right.
It's just gonna happen, you know. It's no other way to do it. So I definitely believe anybody in here can be successful in this game, but it starts by you taking action. That's where it literally starts.
Right. Facts. Real talk.
Appreciate you, Mario, for the super chat. He said appreciate y'all. Y'all make sure y'all subscribe to the channel for sure. Mario Gomez, that's the homie. So let's talk about approach anxiety for a minute, man, because I do camp MIA, and that's basically where I meet up with people in person and we get to build together. Like I'm literally coaching them in person, and they see me get rejected and they think like the Easter bunny is not a real bunny. You know, they're like super shocked, like what the fuck you get rejected too?
Right.
I tell them like, bro, I get nervous as well. You know, I can. It's one of those things. So just let me ask y'all this first. Do you guys still get a sense of approach anxiety when you want to make an approach on a beautiful woman?
You go first.
I do. And I mean, I'm not even trying to pull. I'm pulling for my homies because I got a wife. But I still like to keep my tools sharp. So I still go out and I still, just like you, like whenever this pandemic ends, I want to go out, especially in New York, and actually start giving personal lessons outside too. Because you know, that's the only way for you to get good. But I take the game like basketball. Like all of the best players, you know, they've all had bad games. And you know, to warm up, you gotta warm up. You're gonna miss some shots that you don't want to miss. Some days will be better than others. Like some days when I would used to approach for myself, I'd go out, I'd hit 125th, which is a popular area. We'd all set up shop, me and my boys, and I pull 20, 30 numbers in like literally an hour and a half, 2 hours. And then it'd be some days where I pull up and I couldn't hit anything. I'm like, oh, this is 7. She gonna give me her number. I got a boyfriend. What?
Right.
So I mean, and that's the same thing when it comes to taking things to the next level, when it comes to getting flaked on. Like some days, there'd be some days where I my phone wouldn't stop ringing, and it'd be some days where I'd be like, nobody trying to hang? Like, what's going on? So like every level you go up from to the bedroom, dating, getting numbers, all of that stuff, it all like it's a part of the game. It happens. And once you get comfortable with the fact that it's a part of the game, and it's just like, and all of the friends that I've had and that I have right now, they'll all tell you like, no, I don't know anybody, regardless of the looks, the money, the status, any of that stuff, that hasn't had off days.
Right. Now that's real talk. And as far as like you know, approach anxiety, the thing is usually that's gonna happen regardless, especially the more time you take away from approaching. So like when you're in the situation, when you get warmed up, then you're good. You understand? But usually when you first start and when you first go out there, the anxiety is going to be there. So it's kind of like, I remember somebody I forgot who said this metaphor, but I was like, this is a perfect example. This is a perfect way of seeing it. It's just like if you go into a pool and then the pool is cold as hell, and then so you dip your toe in, you know what I'm saying? And then you start dipping your toe in a little bit, and then you slowly get into the pool. Then once you in the pool, you good. Now you good. You're getting used to the temperature of the pool. But then let's say you go out, you leave the pool, and then you come back the next day. When you come back the next day, you still got to dip your toe in. You ain't gonna just jump back in like how you did. You understand? So you're always dipping your toe back into the situation. And so that's where some of that approach anxiety is going to come in regardless. And this goes for like 99% of dudes, whether you a advanced dude that's out there doing it or not, because, and especially if you're a guy who's used to approaching and you take time off, let's say you haven't approached women in like 2 or 3 months. When you go back out there, trust me, you're going to be hesitating a little bit, or there's going to be a little bit of an anxiety just for that first 1 or 2 girls, because you still got to get your foot back in the pool. You understand what I'm saying? You still got to get your toe. Yeah. It's the same thing. So, and I think a lot of guys make the mistake of letting that stop them, because that anxiety is like, oh, well, I don't know if I can do it. I don't know if I can do it. I'm like, yo, every dude goes through that. You understand what I'm saying? But once you get past like that first girl, that second girl, you're good. It's like you get into that zone and then you just flow with it. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. And I think another thing that helps is people, like, guys got to stop just focusing on trying to approach the woman that they want. You know, like,
right.
You can just get talkative. And funny enough, you don't have to even get talkative when you're out. Like when you're in the field or anything, you can hop on the phone with a buddy, hop on the phone with a family member, just get your mouth moving, and you'll realize talking to other people isn't as hard as you make it. Like, Mario, you made a great point. The longer you wait, it always gets harder.
Right.
You start to overthink. Oh, she's walking too fast. Oh, she got on a mask, you know, something that everybody's wearing now. So you're piling up these excuses where you could just be like, yeah, you know, it's a girl. She's walking a little faster, but my legs are longer. I'm stronger or my legs are stronger than hers. I'm faster than her.
Right.
You just go talk to her.
Right. So, and on top of that, a lot of that anxiety sometimes too is based off of worrying too much about the outcome, but also worrying about how you're gonna look to strangers and people you with. So like if you with your boys, you be like, damn, I don't want to look like a sucker in front of my boys, or I don't want to get rejected in front of my boys. So what happens is that sometimes it becomes a thing where you're trying to impress your friends more than you actually trying to really, you know, interact with the girl. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
That's another thing. So it's crazy.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%, which is why, like, I feel like if you guys are going to go out and actually try to actually talk to females, you need to surround yourself around like-minded people. Like, when I was growing up, I had 4 sets of friends. I had my homeboys that if you mess with me, they get it in.
Right.
I had my homeboys that played ball. I had my friends from my block, and I had the dudes that I went to the club with. You know what I mean? So if I'm around my guys that we going to the club with, they shouldn't be focused on me in the first place, because we all in a club to be, you know, we want to have a good time, but you know, at the same time, you out here trying to get it. So you shouldn't be no reason why you sitting around like your friends is watching you. And like the thing that's so interesting is, like, just to touch on what Mr. Locario said, like now that I got older and like I travel a lot for work, a lot of the times like I'm out by myself. So when I hit, like, I'm still gonna go out and have a good time if it's Saturday. So if I hit the club, I'm out talking to everybody. Like I talk to the bartender, people having birthdays, like men and females. I've been invited to backstage, like all types of stuff, like sharing bottles with people I put no money up for, just because I'm having simple conversations with people. And you know, so you kind of gotta get the juices flowing and you'll be good to go.
Right.
It can take you a long way too, man. Like a lot, I know we kind of tailored this content to women, but you guys got to understand, simple social skills can change your life. You know, it can get you in situations where you talk your way out of a speeding ticket. It gets you in situations where you get into a concert for free. It gets you in situations where you get everything for free. So this whole talking to people, it's something that we're naturally supposed to do on this earth anyway. Because I don't think if we weren't supposed to do that, I don't think it would be so many people. Like it wouldn't be so many people on this earth if we weren't meant to communicate with them.
Facts.
So let me ask you, Locario, why do you think this space became so negative when it comes to dealing with women? Why do you think it got to this point? Because it hasn't always been like this.
Right. Well, the thing is though, you got to understand, like, back in like maybe, because I was on YouTube since like 2007, 2008. You know what I'm saying? And when I first got on YouTube, there was hardly anybody talking about this like you know, like this heavy as far as like game and all that other stuff. that was around the time where, you know, like the pickup artist stuff was popular too. You know what I mean? But it was more popular on mainstream TV because they had the pickup artist show and all of that. But on YouTube, it wasn't really like a lot, like around like, you know, the late 2009, 10 or whatever, then it started popping off a little bit more. But also too, what happened is that a lot of guys got into like the pickup stuff expecting unrealistic results. You understand what I'm saying? But also the reason why they expected that was because of a lot of the marketing that went like, oh, say these 3 lines and the girl's gonna love you and all, you know, all that other crazy stuff, right? Yeah. So then when dudes started doing that and they realized it wasn't working, then there was a lot of guys that got pissed off because they're a lot of dudes are looking for the easy way to just get women, period. Like, what's the magic formula, all of that. Once they realized it wasn't a magic formula, then this world, a lot of the negativity came in. You understand what I'm saying? Because now dudes is like, man, now that I realize that it's not a magic trick, or I still want it to be a magic trick, that's where all that negativity came in. Because you got to understand something. When dudes are sexually frustrated, right? You're going to have a lot of negative energy coming out in these situations. Because what happens is that because they're not getting what they want, right? And they was expecting to get a certain thing, that's going to bring out a lot of, oh, these women out here are this and these women out here are that. And this is why you have a lot of like MGTOW channels now, a lot of these, you know, red pill channels now also, you understand? Like a lot of this comes up because of this frustration from guys who didn't really understand the game or wasn't really having anything popping off for them in the game. You understand what I'm saying? It's the same way where women kind of get upset and be like, oh, all these men out here ain't shit and yada, 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 and all this other stuff because they're not getting exactly what they want either. You see what I mean? So it's always like some crazy nonsense that goes on because dudes is really not getting what they want out the game. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to Afi in the building. What up?
What's going on, Afi?
Salute.
Yeah, man.
Hey, what you said is facts, but wouldn't you say that a lot of the, you know, like the people who are pushing this negativity towards women and this hatred, wouldn't you say that's a younger generation that wasn't even around when the mystery methods and all of that stuff? So why do you think like the generation, you know, the 20 men in their 20s and, you know, like 18, 19, why do you think they're so frustrated? Because I feel like a lot of them don't even have that experience yet. They're just going along with it.
Right, but also it's still the same thing though. Meaning like back in the day, let's say like you could take it back to like the freaking let's say like the 80s or 90s or whatever like that. You know, you still had guys that you always had guys who had trouble getting girls. You understand what I'm saying? Now up in 2020, 2021, it's still the same thing. You still got a bunch of guys who have trouble getting girls. You understand? Now the difference though is that nowadays it's way easier to get girls if you know how to get girls, but also on the flip side, it's way harder to get girls if you don't know how to get girls. You understand what I'm saying? Yeah. So the dudes who don't know how to get girls, it's way harder for them to get girls nowadays. You understand what I'm saying? For the guys who know how to get girls, it's easier. So what happens is we're in a time now where if your game is weak, you're going to have a super hard time trying to deal with women. But if your game is tight, you're going to have way more of an abundance of women to deal with. So now this is why a lot of the young 20-year-olds and all that other stuff, they still got all that negativity because they're feeling their lack of abundance or their lack of access to women more than any guy has ever felt before ever. And the reason why is because we have access now to social media and all these different things. So a lot of people say social media changed the game. Social media didn't really change the game. It just exposed people's lack of game, or you understand what I'm saying, or how much game they have. So it's not that it changed it, it exposed people's thing, because you got to understand something. Back in like the 50s and shit like that, way before all of us were even born, back then society was more geared to helping men get a woman. So back in the day, it would be more social circle. Your dad knows my dad, and let me introduce you to my daughter. And so society was helping you get women. You understand what I'm saying? It was more of a social circle thing. back in the day, women didn't have money to, succeed on their own, most of them. So a lot of them would latch onto a man for the providing and protection, because they're like, well, I'll marry him because he'll take care of me. Now in 2021, women got their own money. You understand what I'm saying? They don't necessarily need a man to as for finances, as far as concerned.
Yeah.
And now in 2021, it's more freeing or acceptable for women to be sexually promiscuous. So now it's okay, you can be sexually promiscuous and you don't need the money. Therefore, it's going to be harder for guys to get the women, because back in the day, the guy could be like, well, I got money, I can get her that way. And two, because she's not so sexually free back then, or was frowned upon, it's easier for, me to navigate through the situation. But now, because women are more sexually free, where it's more accepted, women are like, I'm going to have sex with the guys I really want to have sex with. I don't need to have sex with the guy that has money. I don't need to have sex with the guy that's down my block. I can do whoever I want. So now those guys who don't have game, they're, they're shit out of luck, because now they got all these dudes that they're quote unquote competing with who have game. So then they get lost in the sauce. You see what I'm saying? It's crazy.
And I think one thing as well is that at least back in the day when the pickup thing was a thing, guys were at least more willing to actually try the shit out. Now they'll get so sucked, like on this whole fucking YouTube thing and all of these different videos. They'll get so stuck into that rabbit hole, and it's like, when are we actually going to figure this out? When are we actually going to at least try this stuff? I think that was another big thing. Confidence, let me ask you, bro, do you think it's more pros or cons dealing with these chicks, just in general?
I mean, to me, it always depends on the chick you're dealing with and what you're dealing with her for. You know what I mean? Because I personally think that every girl that I've ever talked to had a pro at some point. You know what I mean? There was something that I wanted from them, and if that was all I wanted when I got it, we kept it moving. So that was a pro. I got what I want. She got a little bit of time. It was what it was. I honestly haven't had too many negatives with females like that. So it's kind of hard for me to have negatives when it comes towards females, like, because I've never really experienced, like, I've had some situations where I was like, I think she kind of did me dirty, but I wasn't 100% sure, nor did it matter to me because I was already out the door. But for the most part, like, I haven't had no real, like, broke my heart situation. So, like, I kind of do feel for guys that go through stuff like that, because, like, that kind of pain, like, I haven't experienced, and I hope to never experience it. But that's kind of why I see, like, just to go back to your last question, I think there's a lot of guys on here that also, like, the older guys that produce content, like, that, what do you call them, red pill rage guys, and they kind of come out with this whole generalization of, like, all women are dogs and da 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 da. And the thing about back in the day, like Mr. Locario was saying, we didn't have social media, so you wouldn't hear the 50, 60-year-old guy that just got divorced on YouTube yelling about never get married and never do this and that. You wouldn't hear those things, but now those guys are able to reach the younger generation. And even for myself, like, I produce content too as well, and sometimes I have to sit back and look at some of the things I do, and I try to, like, there's some things where, like, let her go or walk away, and I don't want it to seem like that's for all females, because I believe, just like not all men are terrible people, there's not all women are, like, terrible as well. So when you see, like Mr. Locario always says, he's like, you got to vet these girls. If you see somebody that looks like they are gonna destroy your life, like, why are you messing with her? Why you messing with her? Like, I had a buddy I was talking to, and I'm telling him, like, yo, like, that box is good. His ex-girl, I'm like, yo, that box is good, but if you let her back in your life, you're going to continue to be, like, letting her back in your life. And he dealing with her, and I'm like, that's not what you want to do, because she's looking to catch you slipping. And when it happens, I'm just going to sit back and be like, not going to say nothing, but I told you so. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
That's fact.
Real talk. But what do you think, Locario? Because I always like that. That's what I feel like is a very important thing that I definitely try to emphasize is the pros. It's plenty of pros. Obviously, there's pros and cons to everything. So many people try to focus on the cons, and I feel like if you do that with anything in life,
Right,
you're never going to be satisfied. So what's your thoughts on the like? Which one do you think there's more of, pros or cons when dealing with these women?
I think a lot of it has to do with how you position yourself in your situation with the woman, because I always say that how women treat you is a reflection of your game. You understand? I was just on the live stream with a guy earlier, and I was telling him that I was like, bro, you know, because he was like, oh, these women just want money, and I was like, but that's probably they're doing that for you.
Yeah,
they're coming to you like that because you're putting out that energy. Because he was saying he would always go to strip clubs and do a bunch of like, you know, things in strip clubs and all that. So I said, okay, bro, you keep putting yourself in situations where you're around women who are going to be taking your money. So, and I also asked him, I said, bro, are you the type of guy that's, you know, paying for a lot of dates and going out and, you know, doing all this other stuff? And he's like, yeah, I kind of do that. And I'm like, you're putting yourself like that. So a lot of the energy you're getting from women is directly correlated to how you interact with them. And so another guy would be in a situation that he's in, and he's like, look, I'm not going to take these girls on a bunch of dates. I'm not going to be tricking. I'm not going to do all this other stuff. So those women aren't going to come at him like that. So as far as like the pros and the cons, you sort of dictate at the end of the day the pros and the cons. There's always going to be some pros and some cons regardless of who you're dealing with. But if you want more pros, then you have to be on point. You understand what I'm saying? Because if you're not on point, that's when you're going to get more of the cons. Because understand that, and this is the thing that guys gotta realize, is that a woman is only going to do what you allow her to do. You understand? The problem is guys think they can't get a woman unless they sort of bend over backwards to appease the woman and they think that's going to make the woman like them, and then they think, oh well, I got to do it that way in order to get her. But what they don't realize is that women are looking for guys to tell them no. Women are looking for guys to say, no, we're going to do it this way instead of that way. Women are looking for guys to say, damn, you know what? Listen, if you ain't trying to do that, I'm going to be out. It's all good. You understand what I'm saying? Right. Because women essentially want to chase men. See, men pursue, women chase. And I've talked about this before, meaning that if I approach a girl, right, and I say, hey, let me get your number, and then she give me her number, whatever, we exchange numbers, I'll set up a date or whatever, when we go get some drinks and we chill and we hook up or whatever we do, right? That's me pursuing that girl. Now, once I've done all that, once she's gotten a taste of my experience, of experiencing me, then at that point, I don't really got to do too much. I'm going to just chill. I could just chill and do my thing. And then usually what's going to happen is she's going to call me and be like, damn, what's Locario doing? I've been thinking about him for the past couple of days, blah, 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 blah. You understand? And that's when you get that good morning text. How are you? Blah, blah, blah. And then you proceed that way. But she starts chasing because she's chasing the experience. So a lot of times when we talk about the pros and the cons, you're going to get a lot more pros when you're so on point, because what's going to happen is women are usually going to be on their best behavior when they're with you, and they're going to be giving you and showing you their best. A lot of times you get a lot of the cons because you're not on point. So therefore they don't give you the best. They give you the bare minimum, the mediocre, the inconsiderate, the inconsistent. Yeah. This is why you have a lot of guys online who are so angry and frustrated at women, because this is what I always tell guys. You can tell a guy's level of game by how he talks about women. So if the dude is like, oh, these chicks ain't shit and they just want your money and they on some bullshit and they're just going to use you and they can't love you. And if he's talking all that, he's basically just talking about himself. He's talking about his own situations he's getting. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But, you know what I mean? But if you notice that guys like us who teach game and who's talking about, you know, how to attract women, how do we know this? Why are we even saying this? We're saying this because this is our reality. Our reality is we attract women. Women treat us good. So let me teach you how to get what I'm getting. You understand what I'm saying? So it's the same thing. We're everything we're saying is just a reflection of how women have been treating us. You see what I'm saying? But women have been treating us a certain way because us first as men set up the situation for us to get that type of treatment. You see what I'm saying? So that's what it is. You know what I mean? Yeah, man.
That's a whole bunch of gems from both you guys, which I just said, because a lot of what people do is what you allow them to do. You know,
Right.
like your animal, it's going to do what you allow it to do. Everything in your life is a reflection of what you allow it to do. So it literally starts with you setting standards, but a lot of people will hear that and they think, all right, you know, well, I shouldn't do this or I shouldn't do that. Let's get into the whole validation thing, because a lot of people ask me about this, and I actually dropped a video. I made a video about this, but I'll be releasing it tomorrow. What's your whole take on validating a woman? What do you think of when you first hear that question?
When I think of validation, I think it's two types of validations. There's the validation you give a female when you first meet her, like you approach her, which is, to me, that's perfectly fine. If I'm like, yo, like I thought you was cute, that's why I'm approaching you. Like there was some people that disagree with that, but to me personally, that's how you start an interaction. So so a woman knows up front, like I'm not here because I want to know what time it is, or I need directions.
Exactly. Yeah.
Because I'm trying to pull up on you and see what's up. And then there's the validation that you give after you've been in a relationship for however long, or how you're talking to somebody, where I kind of think you should kind of like just be cautious with it, like always tell, oh, you're so beautiful, you're so this, you're do that, like all of the times, because the more you say these things, the less effective, if that's even the best word for it, it is. It's like you say it every day. You say good morning every day. You send her that good morning text every day. She doesn't care. Like that's my take on it.
Yeah, I think and you know, it's weird because I know in a lot of people have, you know, gotten to this thing where they're like, don't validate women ever, don't, you know, do this and do that, and they're like, don't approach women because that's validation. Exactly. It's like, so it's gotten out of hand. You know what I'm saying? The thing is that, and there's different ways of looking at this. One way is to understand that anytime you talk to a girl, you know what I'm saying, look at her, acknowledge her, even think about a woman, that's all validation regardless. So actually you can't get away from validating women, period. And you know what I'm saying? Like even when you're trying to not deal with them, it's still validation anyway, in a sense. For example, a lot of the MGTOW says men going their own way. But if you go on any MGTOW channel, 99% of the videos about women. You understand what I'm saying? So they're already validating women by making all their content about women. You see what I mean? So no matter which way you go, it's still, because remember, we're women are our counterpart, meaning that you can't, as soon as you say man, women pops up. You understand what I'm saying? Same thing. If you say woman, man pops up. It's the same thing. It's like trying to, you can't talk about front without back. You can't talk about up without down. As soon as you say up, it implies down. As soon as you say front, it implies back. As soon as you say man, it implies women. So you being a man, just existing, you're validating her anyway. You understand what I'm saying? So if you want to get deep on it. But as far as, you know, a lot of guys with this whole not validating thing, it really stems from, a lot of it stems from insecurity, because what most guys are doing is they're saying, this is the thought process. They say, well, I don't want to go and approach a girl and validate her because that's going to gas her head up. This is what they're saying. And then she's not going to be interested in you because you're like simping for her. You're gassing her head up, or you're doing all this other stuff. Right. But what they don't understand is that that's coming from a place of insecurity, because what they think is that if you don't gas her head up, or if you don't validate her, then that's going to make her chase your validation. But what they don't understand is that a woman's not going to chase your validation if she don't give a fuck about you. You understand what I'm saying? So what that means is that if a woman doesn't care about your validation, you not validating her doesn't matter anyway. But if a woman cared about your validation, right? If she was interested in you, whether you validated her or not, she still would be interested in you anyway, because she's interested in you. So no matter what, it doesn't even matter. The key thing though is that it actually is more beneficial when you're first talking to a girl, right? And to validate her if, right, you are a guy who is on point, a guy who's attractive, a guy who's like you could say a high value dude. The reason being is because of this, is that when a woman talks to you and she sees you as a guy who's on point, sometimes she may think that she is not up to your standard. So that means she thinks that you might not like her. She thinks that you might not want to be with a woman like her. She thinks that you're out of her league. So what happens is that you actually have to validate her to get her. And this is what guys don't understand. But that comes from a place of a guy seeing his value. It's like this. I'll flip it around. Notice a lot of guys are scared to approach women who they think are dimes. Now imagine I was coaching one of these women who are dimes, and then they saw, let's give a guy a name. Let's say a guy, Bob. Let's say Bob is like, man, I want to go and approach that girl over there. She's so hot, or she's so bad, or whatever, right? I really want her. Now, let's say I'm coaching this girl her name is Christine, and Christine is a dime. Now, Christine says, Locario, I want that guy Bob over there to come and approach me. Like, what should I do? Like, I don't, he's not coming over. You understand? Now, what I would tell Christine is, I say, hey, Christine, how about you look at him and smile at him and wave at him? Looking at him, smiling at him, and waving at him is giving him validation. So therefore, he's going to approach now because he feels comfortable approaching this dime because she's showing him that he is on her level. So the same thing is the flip side. Sometimes y'all don't realize that women think that you're not on their level, especially if you're an on-point dude. If you're a really on-point dude and you're the shit, some women are going to be intimidated by you. So therefore, you have to validate the girl so that she thinks that she can deal with you. Because if you don't, she's going to auto-reject herself. And what auto-rejecting is that she's going to automatically reject herself out the situation, and then you won't get her. So let's use the same example with the girl who's a dime. I'm sure most of y'all have been in a situation or know some guy that have been in a situation where you see a girl who's hot as hell, and you say to yourself, you know what? I'm not even going to approach her because she looked like a bitch. You understand what I'm saying? That's auto-rejecting. You're rejecting the situation so that you can save your ego. So now if that girl wanted you, she's not going to get you because you rejected yourself already. Same thing with women. Women will reject themselves from you because they're intimidated. So now that woman who's intimidated, what will make her want to fuck with you and stay is you say to her, you be like, girl, come here, man. I think you sexy as hell. What's good with you? What's your name? You looking so fucking good. Because now she's going to think, damn, this fucking high value guy likes me. Like, oh my God, I could actually get with him. And then therefore she's going to open up to you more and deal with you. So this is why you got to be very aware of who you are in the situation. And this is why I'm saying it's a very low self-esteem, insecure thing to say, I don't want to validate these girls because a guy who's on point has been in, trust me, I've been in these situations plenty of times where girls literally would ask me, they'd be like, I don't understand why you want to talk to me. Like, are you serious? Like I say to a girl, hey, give me a number. She's like, for real? I'm like, yeah, for real, give me a number. It's like she doesn't believe I want her number. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I don't want to see her. So this is why there's times where you got to validate the chick. You see what I mean?
Exactly.
It's crazy.
People, like, guys would never believe that,
Right.
They never believe that women are more insecure in senses, and they don't believe sometimes that they're good enough for you.
Right. Right.
That's big on what you said. It all comes down to how you look at yourself, though.
Right. And on top of that, it has to be validation that's sincere. Like, you don't want to just be doing it because, let me now validate. And then you start sounding like a needy, goofy motherfucker. You're like, oh my God, you're so beautiful. No, you don't want it needs to be authentic.
Yeah.
And that's what's going to carry over. You understand what I'm saying? Because that's what it's really about. Because even when you don't validate a girl and you want to, that's inauthentic. You see what I'm saying? Because if I think a girl's hot and I'm trying my hardest not to tell her she's hot because I don't want to validate her, that's me being fake. Yeah. But also I'm being fake if I'm purposely validating her just to get her. That's still being fake because I'm just trying to say a thing to try to get her. You understand? So it has to be something that's like authentic in the moment where you actually feel that so that she can feel it when it comes to dealing with you. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and then it'll come from a different place. If it's genuine, if it's authentic, if it's righteous, then it's going to be one of those things where you just say it, not even too much caring if she responds to it or not.
Right.
Like, I genuinely like your shoes. I genuinely like your hat or whatever. It's going to come off a lot different than if you're saying it just for her to be like, oh my God, thanks. My grandma got it.
Right.
It'll come off totally different. So If you guys got any questions, go ahead and drop them in the chat. We're gonna wrap this up in a minute. Let me ask you guys this now. I recently had a consultation with one of the members, and he was telling me, because a lot lately, I've been preaching this, but I've been making sure I emphasize this lately, is that there is so much more you can get out of women other than sex. I actually think that getting sex from a woman is the beginning to what else you can get from her. It can be a lot more, like women have a lot more to offer, just like you guys should have a lot more to offer. And one dude asked me, he was like, "So you are you just saying this because you've had a lot of sex? Like, do you think that you're just at this point in your life where there's a lot of guys who want their fair share, and so when they hear you say this, they can't relate to that because a lot of these dudes just want sex?" And I'm like, motherfucker, I still want sex. You know what I mean? Like, I still want to meet other chicks and smash other chicks, but I know that you can lose out on a lot of quality women and a lot of quality opportunities just trying to get sex. So basically, the gist of this is, do you guys think, as a man, regardless of relationships, whether you get married, have a girlfriend, or whatever, do you think that it will ever be enough, basically?
So the question was, do you think what was the question again? Can you get more out of a woman?
Yeah, do you? Well, not even, because I'm pretty sure we can all agree you can get a lot more out of women other than sex, obviously. But do you ever think that you will have your fair share, basically, like to where you're like, I'm good. I don't really think I want to pursue or deal with any more chicks.
Right.
That's kind of.
Go ahead.
That's kind of how I was, because the thing about it is, when I feel like when you do something for a long period of time, especially if that's your main focus. Like, I know, like, a lot of guys that, like, work on their channels, they got other things that they got going on. But for me, I feel like I burnt myself out, especially at a young age, because that was really all I was doing. And it started from such a young age to where, like, by the time I was like, the numbers we was putting up, being in New York and being able in that big city where you can put up these kind of numbers, it was also a competition. Like, at some point I kept up with my with my number, and then it started to get crazier and crazier. So I was just like, it kind of is what it is. But for me personally, if you do it to that extreme, I believe that you can get burnt out. But that's just me personally. That's not speaking for everybody. But yeah, so that's my thoughts. I think you can get burnt out. And the thing about it is, it's so much more to life than just that as well. So if you're only focused, like when I was focusing on that, my credit cards was messed, because you're doing a lot of dating and you on these other things.
Right.
Like, if you don't have, like, if your main focus is on that, like, you're gonna be all over the place, in my opinion. But as long as you can have that balance to where like, you're doing this, you setting time aside, a date, and do all of that stuff, I think you should be fine.
Right. Now I agree with that. And also I'll add this, is that one of the things that I think a lot of guys should go through is dealing with a lot of different women and hooking up and all that other stuff. Depending on what that is for each guy, that could be, for some guys, that could be like hooking up with like 50 women. Some guys that could be hooking up with 10 women. Some guys that could be hooking up with hundreds of women. But what it is I feel like guys need to be in a situation where they've done it, so that they can actually see how it feels, so that they can then really take things on a different level. Because what it is if we just tell guys, but they haven't experienced it, they could get an idea, but they don't really know. You understand what I'm saying? And so you got to be in it to know it. And so once you know it, then you'll see how it feels for you, and you sort of feel like what you need to do, or what you want to sort of like continue to do or not do. You understand what I'm saying? So now, hold on, this goddamn dog is going crazy. Anyway, but what I would say is this: is that part of growth is doing certain things. Damn, this fucking dog is killing me right now. This dog is like going all over my fucking. Hold on, give me 1 second.
All right, cool. Yeah, I think in a gist, it's about experience. You know, everybody has different levels of experience, and everybody's at a different level of experience right now in their life.
Hold on. All right, here we go. I had to bring her up because she's knocking all over things. She's making mess of my thought. Here we go. What I was going to say is this: is that when it comes to sex, I think a lot of times once you have a certain level of experience, I think all guys are gonna still want sex to the day they die. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I think how you go about it changes. You understand what I'm saying? So I think back in the day, let's say when you're young and you're like, I just want sex. You're like, I'm willing to do anything. I'm willing to stay up all night. I'm willing to follow this girl to the ends of the earth. I'm willing to simp, trick, whatever I got to do to get it. I'm gonna get it, right? Then you get a little older and you're like, man, I got a lot of shit to do. I got things that's going on. So you still want sex, but then you're like, okay, I'm only going to deal with women who are going to be cooperative, women who aren't going to be on some BS. You understand what I'm saying? So you still want sex, but you're doing it in that sort of like capacity. You see what I mean? And so you learn, and the reason why I say that it's important to have a lot of, interactions with women is because then once you do that, what happens is that when you are growing into your situation and you're going down a different path, you're able to say, look, I understand what I'm missing when I go to a next level. So let's say, for example, you're like, man, I used to go above and beyond to try to get some pussy. And then now you're dealing with a girl and you're like, man, she's bad as hell, but she's a fucking headache. So you know what? I'm going to kick it to the curb. Even though if I would have tried more, I probably could have got it. But I know what I'm missing because I've had the previous bunch of sex from before. You understand what I'm saying? But if you're the type of guy who's, you've hardly had sex or you even hardly ever dealt with women in general, that's going to be hard for you to do. And then it's hard for you to grow because you're still going to be on the same level of trying to get it by any means necessary or doing a bunch of stuff. So I think it's, the way you try to go about it changes based off of, like your growth and where you're going in life and all that other stuff. You know what I'm saying?
Word. Yeah, that's the importance of experience. You know what I mean? Like you guys got to get out here and actually live life a little bit. Try not to live too much in the comment sections because
right, exactly.
It'll drown you in there at a certain point.
Right.
Word. Well,
I think
or go ahead, bro. My bad.
Oh, it's a quick comment. I just think that's the best way to learn how to vet females is to actually date a lot of females. And I feel like a lot of the older guys that got into these bad marriages, the reason why they got into these bad marriages is because these females were headaches from the jump, and they still
exactly.
So that's just my quick comment on that.
Right.
Yeah. You'll get lost in between that, You'll get lost just trying to pursue women for sex. But I do think that getting that fair share, whatever number it is to you, is possible,
Right.
Word. Okay. So what we'll do, we'll give you guys, a couple more minutes if y'all got any questions. Looks like we got 47 people in here. I would definitely if you guys would like the video so that YouTube can push it out a little bit more. Y'all make sure y'all subscribe to Mr. Locario and Confidence Creator channel. I'm gonna drop those in the chat real quick. Did you guys have any thoughts or any last comments before we get up out of here?
Nah, man, just shout out to you. Shout out to Confidence Creator. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to everybody watching. Also, make sure you guys check me out on Instagram at @realmrlocario. And also hit me up on badboymembership.com. That's where you get 45 through 90-minute audio and video dating advice tutorials every month. Also, make sure you go to mrlocario.com so you can get the Game Kings documentary. So that's the first documentary on the game. It's crazy. It's dope. So make sure you guys get that shit popping.
For sure.
Right.
Yeah, no. Appreciate you guys for having me. Shout outs to Mr. Locario, Mr. Man in Action. You guys can find me, Confidence Creator, on YouTube, and everything else is just up and running and getting started. So that's pretty much the best way to reach. I respond to all comments, and pretty much that's me.
For sure. Appreciate y'all, man. Appreciate everybody in the chat. Y'all make sure y'all like the video if you're watching this on the playback. You watching this on the playback, make sure you like the video as well. And of course, make sure you guys check out the channel. Shout out to Red Pill Guide. I'll be on his channel tomorrow for an interview. So y'all make sure y'all tap in the bro channel. And remember, guys, if you do nothing, nothing's going to happen. So go ahead and take action now. We out.